se mi dici
Fantastico,
prima...
fantastico. Sì, credo che chiederò soprattutto cose a lui, però...
no, vabbè,
sì.
per sapere chi chiedi.
Sì, no, ne ho un paio
anche
proprio.
Colin's
Martino, vai.
father again.
Un attimo.
Baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, girl.
Martini.
That's so cool. Did you speak to him?
No,
dici tu?
email. Yeah.
Vai.
He's over the moon?
Okay.
Huh?
Over the moon?
Okay, first question about the origin of the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. I find it interesting. You're back writing with Charles McKeown and working on original material. So how was the original project formed?
Well, I just thought it was time to see if I had any original ideas left in me. So the idea of not actually adapting somebody else's work was kind of frightening, because we started with nothing, just emptiness. and the only real idea I had was this ancient theatrical wagon coming into a modern city. And Charles and I just started playing. That's all we did. There was no story, there was no characters. We set that in the modern world. Nobody's paying attention. Now, where do we go from there? So we have Parnassus, then I can't remember when his daughter came into the picture, I think fairly soon. That's why it reminds me of Munchausen as well, because there's always a little girl in there who is essential to moving the story forward. What better way than moving the story forward to have her, being about to be taken by the devil? That wakes the father up occasionally. And then it just started building like that. We were very, the idea of the Imaginarium was a way of doing very sort of spectacular moments without spending too much money. So you could go through the mirror and there'd be a minute or two of amazing stuff, and you get out before you spend too much money on special effects. And so we started working like that. And then if you're on the other side of the mirror with unlimited imagination, well, you gotta stop that somehow, so let's have a crossroads, have a choice. Then there's a choice got to be between good and evil or something like that. So we better have a devil to make the choice more interesting. And that's how we developed it.
That's interesting because it recalls me a scene in Time Bandits. We spoke about that many years ago. And it's like when they break the landscape and find themselves in some other place.
Yeah.
It was a quick way and smart way and visual way to go from one point of the story to another. Like Magritte, you remember the Magritte scene?
Yeah, I know, but the thing about Time Bandits, the reason for that was a desperate moment, because we had shot a scene that went between these two moments of looking for the fortress of ultimate darkness and then eventually finding it. And we shot one scene, but we couldn't afford to do the next scene, so we had a gap. And the only way to deal with that gap was to be there already, but just not see it, which kind of is what the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus is about. The public are walking past this wonderful, magical place, and they don't see it.
And what was it like to write again with Charles McKeown after so many years after Brazil?
It was just nice to be with an old friend and explore it in our different ways, because Charles he's very smart. He writes interesting dialogue. Christopher Plummer always thought he wrote dialogue from the 19th century. And so it's a nice balance between my kind of American energy and Charles's ancient Englishness.
Can you tell me something about your relationship with Christopher Plummer's character and the other character that's played by actually 4 different actors, and we'll discuss that later.
My character's relationship?
Yes, because of course it's very complicated the way you are related to Dr. Parnassus, because you're both like his daughter, but in a way you're also his wife.
I'm only his wife for a quick moment when I play, obviously, when they do the flashback scenes. For the most part of the film, I play his daughter, and I think that, in that relationship we're exploring, the kind of the different aspects of a father-daughter relationship, particularly when a daughter wants to leave she's growing up and she's coming of age, she's leaving the house. And there's a kind of loyalty there, and also rebelliousness from her part, and I think from his part there's love, but there's also, I don't know, it was quite a strange dynamic that the two characters had, and obviously the problem he had going on with the devil at the same time just complicated what would be an unconventional already parental relationship.
Well, when you see the movie, it looks like pretty seamless, and of course it's not, because we all know what happened during shooting, and I read about you almost deciding to scrap the whole thing and then deciding to go on. So what did you have to actually change from what was the project originally after Heath Ledger's death?
there are a lot of little things, but the basic story is exactly the same. The dialogue is the same. We just changed this idea that, you know, when you go through the mirror, that your face can be different because you may be part of somebody else's imagination. And once I made that leap to having your face being different, you can then have different actors to play the part. And that's basically it. And the fact that Johnny Depp, Colin Farrell, and Jude Law came to the rescue, they were all friends of Heath, which made it very easy, or easier, not easy at all. It made it easier for them to make that transition to become Heath-like. And that's why I was interested in only casting actors that were friends of his, that knew him. And then each of them becomes a different aspect of that character. And it's just a little bit more obvious, the aspect differences now, because if it had been Heath playing it all the way through, it would have been subtler, but now it's more surprising and magical.
I only have a final question. So it's about well, going back to the kind of visual style you used to, showing Time Bandits and Time Brazil, and also Munchausen. How did the making of this visual movies changed in all these years? It's like 20 years later. So is it easier, harder, or?
Yeah, I think the main difference is that I just use a lot more computer-generated imaging. But I still design it the same way, I still draw it the same way, I just use a different technique. It's not using models, physical things, it's using computer-generated images. But to me, it's the same. It's no difference.
And look, getting this kind of films financed, is it harder or is it as hard as it used to be at the time?
It's impossible to get films financed now, that's a simple fact. No, film financing is about whether your last film was a big success or not. It has nothing to do with anything else. And off Munchausen, I was coming off Brazil and Time Bandits. It's now a bit more difficult. It's actually, strangely enough, Parnassus is closer to Time Bandits, because nobody wanted Time Bandits when we made it. Nobody wanted to give me the money. Nobody wanted the finished film. Voila. It's the same with Parnassus.
Thank you very much to both.
Voilà. Thank you.
Thank you.